This is Channel 13.
Living side by side, dreaming 2 by 2. You are the reason that we do what we do. For you, yeah, for you. We do it for you on WIBW.
Welcome in on another Throwback Thursday to the WIBW Video Vault. I'm Melissa Bruner in the WIBW Digital News Center, and we this week on the Video Vault are taking you back to this week in 1993. A lot of you might remember, and really with the forecast that we have today, this is pretty timely. We have flash flood watches that are expected perhaps for later tonight into tomorrow morning. Well, it was during this week in 1993 that northeast Kansas was inundated with flood waters. The rains had started coming earlier in the month, and they just simply did not let up. And that caused quite a problem as creeks and rivers and lakes were filling up. Milford, Tuttle were way above flood stage. This ended up impacting Lake Perry as well over in Jefferson County, and it was, in lack of a better word, kind of a mess. A lot of our crews were there. They were all over. We have really tons of video from this time, and so our chief photojournalist Doug Brown helped locate just a short snippet of it, really. So I want to start with several reports from what was going on around Manhattan, Kansas, how communities were coming together. Something happened at Tuttle Creek that has happened only one time in history and has not happened since. Hadn't happened before and has not happened since, given the magnitude of the flooding that was happened in 1993. So let's start in Manhattan, Kansas. You're also going to see how, you know, things through the years, we think how things have gotten political these days when certain either tragedies or emergencies are happening. Same thing was kind of going on around Manhattan that time involving Governor Joan Finney. So one of those reports is in here as well. So without further ado, let's take you back to 1993 and the major flooding around northeast Kansas.
I say yeah, and then you put one more stack across the top of the plastic to hold the plastic down. So we're trying to build every wall around the whole addition at 10 feet 13 inches. So what we've had is we had survey teams out here giving us high marks pretty much everywhere we can, just to make sure we're all the same height all the way around.
As of this morning, not even residents in the flooded portion of the Dix addition could come home. Officers only let volunteers pass through.
They opened the gates a little bit more on us on Tuttle Creek, and that created a little bit of an urgency. When we started this morning at 8 o'clock, we were doing fine, and the urgency is what you're seeing right now.
You think you're going to get it done out here?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Without a doubt. We got enough people. Enough people for all day, it looks like.
Sorry.
We just keep moving sandbags.
Building this fortress requires a lot of sandbags, a lot of organization, and a lot of cooperation. Kansas National Guard troops are lending a hand. Adjutant General James Rieger stopped by to get a first-hand look at the progress.
How about the supply? Have you got enough?
There you go. Now straighten it out.
But while the supplies keep coming, so does the rain.
Rains of over 5 inches were reported in some areas overnight.
That means volunteers will have to keep working double overtime to save this threatened neighborhood.
So let's finish out the whole wall, then we can all one time pull the plastic over, seal it up, and then we'll be done.
It's a community that's under a lot of adversity, but I'm just so proud of it that I could pop. Volunteers have just been fantastic.
Okie dokes, thank you so much.
Donations of food, drink. When we needed something, we've always been able to find someone to fill the bill.
Nearly 500 volunteers today in the Dix edition, building a wall of sand to hold back a wall of water. These floodgates at Tuttle Creek are now open wider than ever before, and it doesn't take long for the water to reach Manhattan.
It's pretty much a safe assumption that the new water that's going to come out of Tuttle will eventually hit here.
Oh, we're already feeling the effects of it.
Every gallon of water released from Tuttle Creek causes another rise in downstream tension. This has never happened before, and even the experts are flying on faith.
My big anxiety is to keep on working, you know. I mean, things can happen. Like, you know, Milford had that erosion over there.
you know, you always have that fear of something happening. What are you going to do? And when we have a lake full of water, I mean, that's on everybody's mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Water gushing from the Tuttle Creek Reservoir. Same scene at Milford, where it's also cascading over the spillway. It keeps coming, and it keeps coming here.
We're trying to beat it. We come out from the university trying to help, and come down here and saw this, something else.
But these aren't the only homes getting hit. Residents in a newly developed housing addition just up the road are moving out. Many of them just moved in.
I just moved in right before this thing hit.
What a housewarming gift.
Oh yeah. Welcome to Kansas.
Governor Finney cut short a trade mission to Taiwan to tour the damage and landed smack in a swirl of criticism.
Floods are something, and crises are something that come right now, and you have to deal with them right now. They can't wait for international trade. They can't wait for a plane ticket back home. You have to deal with them now.
The main thing that I can do is keep the economy going at the same time as I work to provide relief for our people.
Arguments aside, Manhattan has survived 1 week of the flood. Now it's bracing for another. In Manhattan, Sally Moore, 13 News at 10.
The first wave of politicians arrived on the scene today. Governor Joan Finney choppered in from Topeka after an aerial tour of the entire region.
This is the most severe tragedy that I've seen. Any tragedy is serious for the people that are affected, but it seems to continue far beyond the amount of time that we anticipated that it would.
Tuttle Creek began releasing water 1 week ago today, Milford Lake shortly thereafter. So this flooding should have come as no surprise to anyone. But up until last night, Finney was on a trade mission to Taiwan, leaving herself wide open for this kind of criticism.
Now's the time that the governor, now that she's finally back home, needs to help us. She needs to act. She needs to act like a governor, and we expect that from Joan Finney, and I hope that we get it. And it strikes me that the governor being gone on international trade when she knows that we're suffering is inappropriate. She could come back home and go.
These pumps have now been in place for 24 hours, relocating floodwater back into the river.
At least the water's down. At least we're not going to lose stuff in the building. We moved everything out yesterday. We're just concerned now where it's coming in, and you know, it's definitely coming underneath and coming up. So we just hope for the best right now.
This is the Kansas River in extreme northeast Topeka. As you can see, there is still plenty of room left for this river to rise before there's any concern about it spilling over the banks. Today, in this part of the city, the concern is over water that comes underneath the levee.
I lived here 40 years. It's hard to, it's hard to believe that these things can happen, but I know they do happen. So.
Life next to the levee has always been a chancy proposition. Most of the time, there's no problem. But most of the time, the water is not this high.
That's a pretty high levee. You just think you're pretty safe, and you really know deep down that something can happen.
These boils are nothing more than saturated underground, boiling to the surface. Authorities are monitoring them around the clock, and they insist there is no imminent danger.
There is no need to panic or have great fear or cause of alarm. Keep calm. And I think basically the last word I would say for people is just use common sense.
Mike
Matson reporting there, part of the team that was covering the flooding around northeast Kansas back in 1993. Of course, it wasn't just Manhattan, and we certainly had teams that were set up there kind of around the clock monitoring the situation as it unfolded. But we were also all along the Kansas River as other areas were monitoring and experiencing some flooding problems as well. One area that we talk about quite frequently, and we have in the past over the years, is Cross Creek near Rossville. They also were dealing with flooding situations. Here is our report from that area in 1993.
This is precautionary. We're catching it in time. I mean, it's better to do it now than wish we would have done it, earlier. I mean, we're ahead of the game, I'd say.
We got plenty of time. Plenty of time.
We got a real good chance of saving this. The county's been real good about helping us. And I was here in '51. I was only 11 years old, but we never had near the help we got now, so we're grateful for that.
Water from the Caw has backed into Cross Creek here, and now the creek has backed right up to the levee.
There's going to be anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 bags brought in, and we're going to try to raise this about 2.5 feet. It's a low spot in the levee, and we're just going to raise the elevation of it.
Without this new sandbagging effort, there's a real concern that Cross Creek could spill over the levee and into the bottomland. If it happens, it could cut off the highway leading to this bridge over the Kansas River between Rossville and Willard.
Get them bags tight together now, Larry.
Oh, we were real lucky in getting it when we did, because the problem here is this levee's 40 years old, and it's over capacity. The dike could blow out anywhere, anytime under those kind of conditions. And so it's what you live with when you're in the bottom.
Mike
Mattson reporting there from the Rossville area as well as they were along the levee. And, you know, the water keeps flowing, right, folks? What we're seeing is a lot of people working together in a lot of places, a lot of people concerned, trying to get ahead of the waters. That was also the case in Jefferson County, where they keep an eye on Lake Perry. So they weren't out of the woods when it came to some of the concerns and things that were happening. Here was the situation from another familiar face from our archives on reports from Jefferson County and Lake Perry.
Well, if they don't have to let out too much more water at Perry, we could be all right. There would probably be about tomorrow night before they get these bottoms full of water. We'll be able to see what's going to happen.
What's going to happen next is still unknown, but all the same, preparations are in the works in Jefferson County. First, it was the residents of Manhattan who feared the worst once officials began releasing water from both Tuttle Creek and Milford. Now it seems as if the residents of Perry are in the same boat, since water being released from Lake Perry is slowly making its way down the Delaware River into their small city. Early Saturday morning, lake officials began a release of 500 cubic feet per second from Lake Perry. That pace was boosted to 5,000 by noon, where officials say it will remain for now.
The dam, if it takes on more water, it may have to pick up its release rate, and that would be the problem if they had to pick up their release rate. Right now, they're putting out enough water what the Kansas River will take, and so there's no problem.
All day, locals along with volunteers from surrounding towns did their part to ward off the steady uprise of the Delaware River.
A lot of these people, I've been talking to people, and they're all from, none of them from around here. They're from like Topeka and stuff, and just heard they needed help, so they thought they'd come out and help.
I kind of like helping people anyhow. I've been doing this for the last 4 nights, and there's been a lot of people that I haven't seen now.
An effort they can only hope will help them rise above the path destructive waters have already cut across northeast Kansas. Amy Leeds, 13 News at 10.
Amazing video when you see those water releases from some of the lakes as they happen, because they don't happen like that very often. The city of Perry, I'm told, ended up being okay in those 93 floods, but there were a lot of some of those bottoms areas, very low-lying areas along the Kansas River and right adjacent to different creeks and things that saw the brunt of the problems as the waters were released. A lot of interesting things. So what happened when some of the damages became apparent? There was an area near Wamego where we were able to observe that. And if you've ever wondered how our soldiers serve us here at home, that is what we captured in this story.
Rising waters along the Kansas River washed away the underside of the approaches to a St. Mary's Bridge. Today, a temporary approach at each end allowed 15 families to return to their homes. They'd been out of their homes for 2 weeks.
FEMA called the Army and we, Fort Riley's bridge company, so we have the capabilities of doing this.
Saturday night, this hole south of Wamego on K-99 swallowed a pickup with 4 people inside. Locals tell us there used to be a bridge over where the waters have cut a path clean through the highway. Now, officials saw fit about 4 years ago to take that bridge out because they no longer saw the need for water to flow under the highway. Little did they know the flood of '93 was on its way.
counties that have been declared presidential disaster areas can get help for these repairs from the same organization that's helping flooded families, FEMA.
That we will provide funding and assistance to rebuild public facilities that were damaged by the disaster, like this bridge.
Officials say they can't start repairs on K-99 until the water subsides. Aaron Casebeer, 13 News.
A little help from our soldiers in getting some of those things shored up. They build bridges in many of their missions around the world, and they were building them right here at home. A lot of things were unfolding, a lot of moving parts. Our crews certainly rose to the occasion in covering that. I'm told some of our equipment actually had been redirected. Our satellite truck, which was at the time what we would use to report from any great distance, had actually been sent to Iowa, where they were coping with the very severe flooding in 1993 as well. So what are things like today? Well, we, for our 13 at 65 project back in 2018, we revisited the floods at that time as well. And we talked to some folks who actually were there, were part of the response team at the time, and got some footage we hadn't seen before. We had some aerial footage there, but Emergency Management in Riley County had some interesting footage they shared for us as well. So we'll have that report and take a look at what it was like in Riley County and Manhattan as they reflected on the floods. And someone we caught up with from one of the neighborhoods that had floodwaters move in, who's now all grown up. That's coming up in 60 seconds. Welcome back to the WIBW Digital News Center as we are taking you inside the video vault this week back to 1993, looking back at coverage from the major flooding that was hitting northeast Kansas this very week back in 1993. We showed you how things were going in Manhattan and other parts of northeast Kansas. For our 13 at 65 project, our 65th birthday back in 2018, we revisited the floods and some of the areas that were hit by floods and had some interesting conversations with people who lived through them and were still in Manhattan today. One was in the same position, their emergency management director, and another was someone who had just moved to the area in 1993 with his family. We kind of ran onto him by chance and he shared some of his memories of that day. Let's take a listen. Timothy Colthorpe feels blessed to be raising his family in the house in which he grew up in Manhattan's Dix Addition.
It means a lot, so I don't really want to get rid of it.
It's a home flooded with memories, in some ways, literally.
I'm extremely worried about the Dix Addition. Its future relies on a sandbag dike.
They moved in 1993, just as Manhattan was hit by the historic floods that devastated the Midwest. Timothy was 7 years old.
The first time I got to come out and look at it, I got to ride on a fan boat. So I remember sitting at the bottom of the stairs, watching my dad go around the corner, looking through the basement through waist-high water, and I was so angry I couldn't go and swim in the indoor pool like he was. Didn't understand how extreme the situation was.
Back behind me, you'd see nothing but water except for a few little island spots out there.
Pat Collins was 2 years into the job of Riley County Emergency Management Director when the floods hit, a position he still holds today. The area south of Wildcat Creek along South Manhattan Avenue went under first as the Kansas River overflowed its banks.
We launched a pontoon from this bridge to go out and see where the flooding was and what was impacted and what was devastated.
We're trying to beat it.
Around the 17th, we started really scrambling because we knew the lake was filling up, both lakes in the area. Some of the other lakes out west had already filled up,
and we just didn't have any place to go with water.
And over the days and weeks, it became pretty clear that this was going to be a major natural disaster for a good chunk of Kansas.
As rain kept falling, levels kept rising, and everyone waited for the next shoe to drop.
I say yeah, and then you put one more stack across the top of the plastic to hold
it. Would come from Tuttle Creek Reservoir.
Once that lake filled up, the decision to release water from it no longer rests with the downstream conditions, but with what's coming into the lakes.
July 23, 1993, with the lake 63 feet above normal, the Army Corps of Engineers opened all 18 floodgates at Tuttle, releasing 27 million gallons of water per minute.
The sound is what sticks with you, how much noise that water makes when it comes through the spillway. It's just a dull roar, and the ground, if you felt, it kind of shook the ground.
It remains the first and only time Tuttle's gates were raised to facilitate a faster release. Even that was less than the rate it continued to flow in.
Now straighten it out.
But it would have devastating consequences in the Dix edition.
We knew we were going to flood people downstream.
People raced to build a wall of sand to hold back a wall of water from the Big Blue River.
I can remember one visual of a line of people handing sandbags to each other. The people who were underwater, literally, relied on help from neighbors and friends, and the whole community kind of pitched together.
As a local shelter filled with residents, every day Collins and other emergency officials would take a look from above.
And then we would go back to the shelter every evening and share that video with people so they could see what was occurring with their house.
The levees held, but still all you see here in blue was flooded. The Emergency Operations Center remained open for 25 days.
This is the most severe tragedy that I've seen.
It would take years to recover and leave a lifetime of lessons.
We learned that we need to share information with the people living in the area that said, hey, your property could flood.
Now with computer and technology and remote sensing from airplanes that maps the ground, we can do a lot of that modeling in almost real time.
I think we're a lot better prepared.
Images from 1993 and the flooding around, particularly the Manhattan area, hardest hit by the floods at that time. And hearing and seeing those images again is always interesting. It reminds us of the need to be prepared. It reminds us of the need for backup plans. And really, as you saw in much of the coverage, it also reminds us of the spirit of community that happens when tragedy and emergencies strike. Hope you enjoyed this trip back into the WIBW Video Vault. Remember, as we are on alert for some potential flash flood watches and warnings, turn around, don't drown. If you see that standing water in the road or any other place, don't go through it, turn around so that you are safe. Thanks for being with us from the WIBW Video Vault. We'll turn you back to local news live.